Ben, when I think about you, man, I think about positivity, I think about good energy, messages, motivation, stuff, but it's been a tough streak for you, right? It's been a tough run of results. So I wonder what's the mental, battle been like for you to keep that positivity when you're not getting the results I know you want?
I don't really like to talk too much about, crazy personal things that, go on outside of the cage. So I kind of and obviously I feel kind of dwelling on anything negative doesn't really help anything. If there's anything out of your control, your best bet is to take it as knowledge and wisdom and just try to see how you can better yourself utilizing it. So everything that has happened, especially within the past, I feel 2.5 years, I could really write a book. I feel like I could create a movie just off my past 2.5 years alone. And I wouldn't change anything in the world because it's led me to this moment right now. And I feel absolutely fantastic. I'm extremely motivated for this fight. It's been a while since I've had an opponent. I respect everybody I fight. But to have a name like Matt Brown helps those days where you're tired or struggling, or a 2-day and you're just like, oh, I don't really want to get up, or I don't feel like really going. And then there was none of that this time. It was like, oh, you better get up. You better get up. This is potentially card of the year, and we're trying to make fight of the night, or steal the show. So everything about this fight and everything about this event and getting this opportunity has been all the positivity that I needed.
I dig it. Had you guys ever been linked before? I think that's what everybody's surprised, as long as you guys have been around. Had there ever been talks of you guys crossing paths, or was this the first time it came up?
To my knowledge, no. Surprisingly, though, yeah, I really feel, I was season 6, he was season 7. It definitely made sense that our paths would meet, but surprisingly, they didn't. And again, I'm just really happy that, we'll be able to put on a show for everybody.
Well, you said fight of the night. As soon as this got announced, right? Even as loaded as this card is, I think all the hardcore fans especially were like, oh, rubbing their hands together, this is going to be nasty. So, what's your mentality, though, going into a fight like that? I know you don't necessarily want to put your body through any more than it has to go through, but do you go in there thinking like, hell yeah, this is going to be bloody and it's going to be crazy and it's going to be a war? Or do you go in there thinking, oh, maybe I can fight smart and I can get a good result and we don't have to do that?
My goal every time is to win a bonus that isn't fight of the night. My goal every time is to go in there and try to make a highlight reel in the first round, shock the world. But going against someone as experienced as him and as savage as him, man, you're going to get 2 savages in there, and both of us fight to the death. So you're going to easily have to put us out for us to actually officially stop fighting, because there's no quit in either one of us. And I definitely believe that visualization is a key in this game, and I have a lot of visualization going into this fight.
And all of it probably involves a little bit of blood and guts in there?
Yes, absolutely.
You prepped in Las Vegas this time around, right? You did 10th Planet and the PI. Is that how'd you come to that decision, and what'd you think of the process? Is that something you might do moving forward?
Yeah, I actually moved out here. Again, the reason I didn't really talk too much about my personal stuff, but man, I've just had a lot of stuff going on. I've been all over. I kind of feel way too many places, and honestly, this it really came down to Coach Casey being 10th Planet, and I needed I was trying to find a 10th Planet that is a good MMA place to train, because they're fantastic with submission fighting and jiu-jitsu, but to actually, there's a big difference between MMA jiu-jitsu, gi jiu-jitsu, and no-gi jiu-jitsu. So MMA in general, you just need to be able to be around fighters. That's a fact. And I feel out here, I questioned coming out here probably 2 years ago, and again, I just had a lot of stuff kind of going on in my personal life that when I came out here, I was like, oh my God, it's the desert. I feel like I'm alone out here on Mars. Like when I came out here for like 2 weeks to check it out, I was just like, I don't know if this is for me, coming from Florida. Then I went to came all the way to the West Coast, and I was bouncing around the West Coast for a little bit. I was in LA for a year before I came here. And I actually went back to Excel Fusion for 2 weeks leading into my last fight. Again, you know, I feel, most people don't know this, but I've been managing myself since getting back into the UFC. And when you're the kind of fighter that I am, I'll take any fight, anytime, anywhere, you know. It doesn't, I don't sit there and dwell on things that are happening in my life. I'm like, we have a short, limited amount of time to make things happen. And if I'm healthy enough to fight, I mean, man, you see it time and time again. People get an 8 to 10 week camp, and then something happens a week or two before, and they have to pull out, and they don't even get to fight. So in my head, and I look at things as like, man, I could get hit by a car and never fight again, or die, or random, like, you know, there's some real negative things that can happen in this world to take my dreams away. So as long as I'm even remotely capable of fighting to my abilities, I'm jumping on them. And I really feel like I kind of, looking back at it, you know, if you want to talk about legacy, I still feel like my legacy is still intact, it's still there, but I definitely wasn't being intelligent with taking fights. I was taking, you know, a lot of short notice fights, I believe. I feel 3 of my past 4 fights were 4 weeks notice or less, one of them being 2 weeks notice, and this one in Florida it was like I ended up getting the Japanese fighter on 4 weeks notice, and I had a 1 week camp in LA, and I was like, no, this is not working. So I hit my friend Julian Williams, the head of Excel Fusion, and also he's a black belt under Paul Rodriguez, who I came up with, and me and Paul are black belts under Ricardo Laborio. So it's like, man, and Laborio lives in Orlando, so like, if there's one thing that I feel is like my origin story, it's there. That's where I feel at home. And he was like, yeah, absolutely, come out here. So I got to go out there and do a 2 week camp before going down and fighting. And the fight was going really well till it wasn't, you know? And again, I just know that there's better ways. I know I'm not living up to my potential because I'm making bad decisions. But again, I've said I can't dwell on the past, and I can't think of regrets because every decision I've made has led me to here, right now. So this entire camp has really come down to, I knew what I needed to do. I actually got management, so I got Jason House with Iridium Sports. Yeah, and I'm like, okay. I almost took another fight short notice, and they were like, no, dude, what are you talking about? Just chill out, like, you know, go to the PI. And the reason I signed with Jason House is because he's friends with Coach Casey. So I was like, I've had nothing but liars and snakes and just manipulators, you know. That's why I ended up managing myself. Another fun fact is I may be the only person in UFC history that I got myself in the UFC 3 times. I got myself in the UFC on the show. I got myself in the UFC by calling Joe Silva and getting myself back in for the Omoplata. And then I ended up having issues with management, which is why I didn't sign. And then everyone didn't understand why they let me go when I was 3-1 on my next stint, but it was really just because I had bad management. I didn't want to re-sign and have them manage me again. So I kind of was like, I don't know, I'm going to stay on the outskirts, maybe I retire, blah, blah, blah. Just because, like, I mean, I've never been in that situation. I didn't know what to say or what to do. I felt my management and UFC might be close connected, so I can't say anything to the UFC about my management issues, because what if there's an issue there? So I was just like, I'm going to play stupid and just be like, I don't know what's going on. I'll think about it. Maybe retirement's in my whatever. And then I had to fight my way back. And fought Jacob Volkman, got a 13-second armbar, fought my way back, got myself back into UFC again at this point, talked to Joe Silva myself. That's the third time. I don't know how many people got themselves in the UFC without management 3 times, but you're looking at them. And again, I'm not my best manager though. I feel like yes, I may have accomplished some crazy statistic right there, but I failed myself because things weren't. I was dealing with too much on the outskirts and then just taking fights to take fights. And now with Coach Casey and everything out here, I got to go to the PI. I got to do a bunch of strength and conditioning and rehab and training and really getting a team together and getting everything in order prior to getting an actual fight, which is the intelligent thing you should do as a professional. And then I got to do an entire training camp leading into this. So, man, I mean, I feel emotionally, mentally, physically, you name it, man. I got everything. I've done everything in my power, so there's no regrets on this one. I know I did everything I can. There were things probably out of my control that, whatever. Like I said, if it's out of my control and I can't do anything about it, I'm not going to even worry about it. But everything I had control over, I put the work in.
So it's crazy. I mean, 12 years in the UFC. Yes, you stepped out a couple of times, but 12 years ago is when you started. 19 fights in the UFC. I mean, and it sounds like in some ways this is like a fresh start, brand new. Like this is maybe the first time you're really fully mentally, physically prepared. So I guess what's your goal here? I mean, I know everybody wants to go out and get a win, but I mean, are there things you're trying to prove to yourself, to other people? Is it just about the win? Is there more to it? Like, give me an idea what this fight means to you. What's the goal here?
Man, it means a lot to me to go out there and showcase what I know I'm capable of. That's man, I don't get pissed off or sad about anything other than not living up to what I believe I'm actually capable of doing. And I'm sure there's a lot of fighters that have the same mentality in that sense. But I don't fear no man. There's no fear going into that octagon. The only fear that happens is fear of not being able to live up to my potential.
What do you think this is going to be? I mean, you said you've had visualization. You know what the fans are expecting. I think we all think this is going to be a crazy fight, but what do you see happening on Saturday?
I've been one of the longest running veterans in the game, and I think I've showcased, again, I'm a big fan of math, I'm a big fan of statistics. That's why I don't feel like I have to sell fights by talking trash, because I don't know anybody that's ever talked trash about me or had an actual belief that I'm not dangerous. All you gotta do is go look at my damn stats. I mean, I can beat you on the feet and I can beat you on the ground, and I can beat you at every range. I can knock you out with kicks, with punches, with knees, and I can submit you. So on top and on my back. So in my head, I'm just this is a lifelong journey as a martial artist, and I'm consistently improving, man. I'll improve till I die.